the idea is that we're here, we interact with each other, we make choices. And by the choices we make, we create an environment for ourselves. And then we have to live in that environment. It's like, you make your bed, now you have to sleep in it. Or those are, the shoes you created, now you have to walk in them. It's one of those things. So the system has us here. The system does not manipulate our free will. The system cannot say, all right, people, I'll give you free will as long as you do what I want you to do. No wars, no disagreements, nobody gets angry because that's not nice. So you're not allowed to do that. But other than that, you have free will. Free will to do what I want you to do is not free will. So free will allows people to make poor choices and do unpleasant things to hurt other people. Free will allows for things like war, if that's what the people do. Now, there's all sorts of people involved in wars. There's the aggressor who is, created the war, and then there's the people who have the war run over them, who really maybe weren't on any side. They just happened to live in the wrong place at the wrong time. There's a large number of those that don't really have a side in the war. The only side they have is trying to survive under very harsh circumstances. Well, if that happens in your neighborhood, then there's lessons in there for you. And if it ends up that kills you, then you get a new life someplace else. So it's just part of what we do and how we are. And a lot of things affect us in different ways. We can be minding our business, driving our car within the speed limit, going down the road, and somebody who's drunk in a truck on the other side of the road comes across and runs right over us, and we all die. And maybe we and our whole family dies. That's unfortunate. Okay. The drunk made a bad choice. The person driving their car didn't necessarily make a bad choice. They were just going to see grandma, with the kids. But those things happen. And that's part of what, creates all the learning opportunities here. Learning opportunities are created by diversity. If everything were the same, then we wouldn't learn much. That's what was wrong with that big chat room. The reason the system had to create this virtual reality to begin with is there was too much sameness. There wasn't a lot of real significant consequences to what people did or thought or intended. So we get in this place and there's very strong consequences everywhere. Everything we do almost has strong consequences. The choices we make change our lives and change the lives of other people. So that keeps this pot well stirred. Sameness doesn't happen. It's constantly, everything's changing. And what just happens to happen to you has a strong component of randomness in it. You just happen to be in the car at the wrong place at the wrong time. And everything changes. The whole family disappears. Well, that doesn't happen real often. If it did, they'd build bigger barriers or sturdier cars or, cars that you couldn't start if you were drunk. They'd do more about it. So our culture only does as much as it feels like it needs to do. And if it's in the margins, the culture pretty much ignores it. That's part of being in a culture with what, in this country, it's almost 400 million people. So if what happens to you is down in the weeds, all way off in the margins, then generally there's not much that anything's going to happen about it. It just is. It's like, that's the way it is, living here now. You have to deal with it. If it's happening to, hundreds of thousands of people, well, then the culture says, whoa, that's a bad thing. We need to fix that. And it'll start making laws or making policies or making rules to try to fix that problem. So we have laws and rules, international laws and rules, but if somebody wants to make war, they just violate them and they just run over somebody else just because they can, because they want to, because they think there's something in it for them. But to give you a little good news on the upside of that, talking about wars, because I don't want you to leave depressed, and that is that, we've grown up a lot. I told you that this evolution thing The more you evolve, the easier it is to evolve more. So the curve kind of goes slow at first and then gets faster. Well, we're on that knee of the curve where it's getting faster. We're not down in that slow part. I mean, we went for millennia after millennia after millennia with hardly anything changing. 100,000 years ago, 200,000 years ago, it was really, really slow. But it's not that slow anymore.